So today we're going to be looking at the part 2 for solving rational equations. So far we've not had any extraneous solutions. They've all been valid, but today we're going to have extraneous solutions. Okay? So our objective says I can solve simple rational equations. We will be looking at extraneous solutions though today. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so for the steps, these are going to be the same as they were yesterday. So the steps is to first find the LCD, and I'm going to add here and the excluded values. You can do that simultaneously with the LCD. And then you want to undo the division, meaning get rid of the denominators by multiplying everything by the LCD, and then solve whatever you have left over. In today's, you guys have to figure out if it's linear versus if it's quadratic. So linear versus quadratic. If it's linear, you put like the x's on one side, the numbers on the other. If it's quadratic, you have to make one side equal to 0, and then you're going to have to factor it, okay? And then step 4 is to check for extraneous solutions. And then tell me what's the final solution at the end, okay? So when we're solving, when I'm talking about this linear versus quadratic, I'm going to add a note down here. If it's linear, we take the x's on one side equal to the numbers on the other. But if it's quadratic, you have to make the one of the sides equal 0, and then you're going to have to factor. Okay? Remember, if it's binomial, you check for GCF, and then you do dots, versus if it's a trinomial, you have to do blank plus blank and blank times blank. Okay? So binomial, you check for GCFs and then check for dots. But if it's trinomials, you guys have to do blank plus blank, blank times blank. And I'm not sure if you guys could see that. I'll write it up here. And if it's linear, again, linear, you have to move the x's on one side, the numbers on the other. Quadratics, you will have a squared, so you need to have like the ax squared plus bx plus c on the other side. So you have to make one of the sides equal 0. Move everything over to the side that has the x squared, and then you can factor. And sometimes the middle term gets canceled, so then you just have a binomial. And then remember, they have to add up to the b value and multiply to a times c. I forgot to add that on there. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at the first example. You guys need to copy this, I believe. So go ahead and copy this on your first example. We got 3 over x minus 5 plus 20 over x squared minus 25. And that's going to equal negative 2 times x plus 5. All right, so for the LCD, remember your denominators have to be factored. So this x minus 5, that's a binomial. There's no GCF, no dots. I can't do anything to that one. But the middle one, however, notice I have the squared. That means I'm going to have to factor it. So I have a subtraction symbol and 2 perfect squares. So this is dots. So we have to split it just like we did for the prior knowledge. This one's going to split into x minus 5, x plus 5. And this last one, there's no dots, no GCF, so I can't do anything to that one. Once your denominators are factored, then you have to find the LCD. So I'm going to put that on the side. My LCD is anything they have in common. So I have this x minus 5 is in common here. So we'll write it once in the denominator, x minus 5. And then the other one they have in common is the plus 5. So x plus 5 goes over here. And then the excluded values is anything that would make the LCD 0. So x cannot equal. Remember to just switch the sign. That one's a minus 5, so it's going to become positive 5. And then this other one is a plus 5, so switch it to negative 5. My excluded values are 5 and negative 5. Alright, so once you have the LCD and excluded values, remember their second step is to multiply everything by the LCD. Multiply all three fractions by the LCD, but instead of me writing it x minus 5, x plus 5 on the side every time, I'm just going to have you guys look at the fraction and look at the LCD. So don't write this down right now. Put your pencils down and kind of just look up for a second. This is kind of what we did yesterday. We put the x minus 5, x plus 5 on the side, right? And then I did the x minus 5 cancel, so you're left with the x plus 5. But instead of me writing this on the side like I normally do, I know that it kind of gets confusing to some people. So I'm not going to write it on the side. Instead, I'm just going to look at this one over here. I know this is going to be like the top number times whatever's not on the denominator, okay? So x minus 5 is going to cancel, so I'm just going to have the x plus 5 times whatever's in the numerator, okay? So I'm not going to write this on the side how I had it, but just know that that's what I'm doing. I'm just not writing it down, okay? All right, so now grab your pencil again. You guys are going to follow along now. So I know that when I multiply by the LCD, I'm going to have the numerator times whatever's in the LCD that's not in the denominator. So my x minus 5 is going to cancel with this x minus 5, and I'm left with x plus 5. So 3 times x plus 5. And my second one, I'm going to get the plus the top number, which is 20, times whatever's not in the denominator. So my denominator, however, notice I get the x minus 5 and the x plus 5. So both of them cancel. So I don't multiply anything by 20 because the whole LCD cancels. And that's going to equal the other side. I have a negative 2 in the numerator times whatever's not in the denominator in the LCD. So my denominator is the x plus 5 is going to cancel with this x plus 5. So I'm just left with x minus 5. Okay. So one more time, basically what I'm doing is taking the top number times the LCD, but whatever is not in the denominator. So x minus 5 was in my first fraction. So I'm doing 3 times the other one that's not in the denominator. Okay. The second one, both of them cancel. And then on the last one, the x plus 5 cancels. So I'm taking the top number times the other one that's not in the denominator. Alright, then when I get to this step, I need to distribute my values inside of the parenthesis. So I got 3 times x gives us 3x, and 3 times 5 is 15. And then the plus 20, I just bring it down, equals the negative 2x, and negative 2 times negative 5 gives us a positive 10. Then I need to check to see if this is a linear function or quadratic. I don't have any squares on my x's. That tells me that this is linear. And because it's linear, I'm going to put on the side over here. This one is linear, meaning not squared. So then I do the x's on one side equal to the numbers on the other side. Okay? But in order to do that, I need to combine like terms first. So notice right here I have this plus 15 plus 20. Those are like terms, so just bring those down. This is going to be 3x plus 35 equals negative 2x plus 10. And then I need to move the x's on one side and the numbers on the other side. So I can either subtract 3x over here, but that's going to be negative 2 minus 3 is going to be a negative 5. I don't like to have the negative in the x's, so I'm going to actually move the 2x this way using the inverse. So that's negative 2x, so I have to add 2x to both sides. So those cancel. And then the 3x plus 2x is going to give us a 5x. And then bring down the 35 and the 10. Okay, so I got the x's on one side. Now I have to move all the numbers on the other side. So I have to get rid of this 35. That's a plus 35, so the inverse of adding is to do what? Subtracting. So I have to subtract 35 to each side. And I get 5x equals 10 minus 35 is going to give us a negative 25. And now I got to get the x by itself. Let me move this up so you guys can see. This is a 5 times x, so I have to do the inverse of multiplying, which is dividing. So divide both sides by 5. That gives you a negative 5 for your x. And then don't forget we need to check the solution. When we check it, the excluded value is 5 and negative 5. Notice I get negative 5, which my excluded value is telling me my answer cannot be negative 5. That means in this case, we say that the solution here is extraneous because negative 5 is an excluded value. It makes negative 5 an extraneous solution. So my answer cannot be negative 5. So for my final solution, we have to say there's actually no solution in this case. Okay, this is why it's crucial for you guys to always be checking your excluded values at the end with your solution. So far, it kind of seemed pointless when we were doing it because it was always valid. But in this case, we see that our answer was one of the excluded values, which then makes the solution extraneous. And I don't have any other possible solution, so in this case, there's no solution. Okay? All right, let's go ahead and try another example together. And then you guys can practice with the next one. So go ahead and copy this one. x over x minus 2 plus 2x equals 2 over x minus 2. All right, so check the denominators. Can I, like, this is a binomial. Do I have a GCF or dots? Can I do anything to the denominators? I can't do anything. So when you can't do anything, you just go straight to multiplying for the LCD, okay? So the LCD, what do they have in common? X minus 2. So you only write it once with anything left over. So I have an x left over. That's x times x minus 2. And the excluded values, remember it's when would the LCD be 0? So x cannot equal, in this one, x, if I plug in a 0, it gives me 0. So I cannot get a 0. Or, in this case, x minus 2 equals 0. We add 2. So we get a positive 2. Like if I plug in 2, that's 2 minus 2 is 0. So my answer cannot be 0 or 2. Alright, so just like we did in the previous one, I'm not going to write down the LCD portion. I'm just going to write next to it. I'm going to take that times the LCD. So I know I'm going to take the top portion, which is x, times whatever's not in the denominator for the LCD. So my LCD here, my x minus 2 is going to cancel with this x minus 2. So I'm just going to be left with x. So it's x times x. Yes, it would be x squared. And then plus, I'm going to take the second fraction and multiply by the LCD. I'm going to take the top number, which is 2, times whatever's not in the denominator. So the x is going to cancel with this x here. So I'm left with x minus 2. And that equals my next fraction times the LCD. I put the 2 in the front. It's going to be 2 times whatever's not in the denominator. So x minus 2 cancels with this x minus 2, and I'm left with x. So that's 2 times x. All right, then I need to multiply and see what I end up with. So here, x times x is going to become what? X squared. And then 2 times x is a positive 2x. And 2 times negative 2 is a negative 4. Equals 2 times x is just 2x. Notice this time we got a squared. The squared is telling me then that we have a quadratic equation, okay? This time I have a quadratic because I have the x squared, okay? So I'm going to have to make one side equal to 0. And then I'm going to have to factor it. Okay? So I want to move everything over to the side with the x squared. This is the side with the x squared, so I have to make this side equal 0. That's a positive 2x. So I have to subtract 2x to make it equal 0. And those cancel. And I'm going to be left with the x squared. Notice 2 minus 2 is also going to cancel. And I'm just going to be left with negative 4 equals 0. So to factor, I need to check, is it a binomial or a trinomial? Do I have 2 terms or 3 terms? But on this side here, is that 2 terms or 3 terms? Do you guys know what terms are? Like separated by pluses or minuses? This is one term, this is another term. So I only have two terms. So this is called a binomial. Because it's a binomial, then I have to do dots in this case, okay? So for this one, it's going to split into dots. What's that going to be? Square root of x squared gives you x. Square root of 4 is 2. And then one's a minus, one's a plus, equals 0. And then you solve each side for 0. So if I split this here, this first one, x minus 2, that's going to give me a positive 2. And the second one, switch the sign, is going to be a negative 2. And then don't forget to check. So if I check my two solutions, I cannot have a 0 or a 2. So for my first solution here, this x equals 2, is that extraneous or a valid solution? Extraneous. I cannot have an answer of 2. So this one is extraneous. What about negative 2? That one is valid. So my final solution is just x equals negative 2. Okay. My two possible solutions were positive 2 and a negative 2. But 2 is an excluded value, so that's extraneous. And then the negative 2 is a valid solution, so my final solution is negative 2. All right. So I did 2 examples already, so I want you guys to try the next one. But I know that these can be difficult, so I'm going to have you guys do them on the whiteboards around the classroom. And you guys are going to work together as a group, okay? So I want you guys to go to the whiteboards, like your 2 groups here, you guys go on this whiteboard. Aaron and Fatima, you guys can go to that back one. And then Joseph, you guys can go to the whiteboard. And then Alondra, you guys can choose one of the other 2. You guys are up there. You guys go to that front one. And you 4 can use this one, okay? So go to the whiteboards, and you guys are doing this one. All right, so this one's another practice problem. Remember here you have to do what to this denominator? This one's a squared, so what should you do to it? Simplify. You got to factor into 2 binomials. Go ahead and lefty side runner. What am I going to split that first denominator into? All right, so you should have x minus 3x plus 3. All right, then the LCD. I'm just getting you guys started. I forgot it was a practice, but all right, LCD. What's the LCD going to be? What did I have in common? The x minus 3. You write it once. And then we also have x plus 3. So you only write it one time. All right, so I want you guys to do the next part, multiply by the LCD and see what cancels and what do you have left over. So you guys can go ahead and try this one now. You should go finish it. I believe the answer should be -9. So you guys can subtract 4x. Gives you 3x plus 15 equals -12. Then we subtract 15, gives you -27. Divide by 3. That's how you get the -9. and then check it. This one is valid. So that's the final answer. Okay. You guys have no homework for the weekend. We're going to do more examples in class on Monday, and then you guys can do the assignment in class. Okay. So no homework this weekend. You guys can just relax over the weekend.